So yes, today we are going to be going over how to do a transaction in Command. Normally, I might go over how to input a contact and then how to create an opportunity, but I'm going to start with creating an opportunity because it just kind of takes up way too much time to also go over contacts. So you do need to have a contact entered in here in order to create your opportunity. And your opportunity is where you will access the documents checklist and upload documents to. So you want to make sure you do enter them in here, and you can create an opportunity from the contact itself in the right-hand side under opportunities. Click create opportunity. And you can always access the opportunity even after it's closed in this section on a contact. Because after something closes on that dashboard with all the bubbles, it will actually kind of just disappear from the closed section after about 30 days after the close. So if you don't see it there, it will still be under the all opportunities section and on the contact itself. So if you are on a team or you're in coaching, which means you're on the coaching team, you will need to notice that you have a personal account and a separate team account. And you will need to create the contacts or transfer the contacts to your team in order to create a team opportunity. Personal opportunities are oftentimes disabled, definitely when you're on coaching and on most teams. And what do I mean by that? How do you transfer a contact? Well, there's a couple ways you can transfer a contact from within the contact. And again, I'm in my personal account. That's where this contact is. You can, actually it's not. Oh, yes, it is. Choose account, and then you'd switch it to your team, okay? The other way you can do it is in bulk. You can select several contacts or just one. Under select bulk action, scroll down to the last option, which is change account, and then click your team name under the select account menu. And then change. And then you're not going to see those contacts in your personal account anymore. You're going to see them on your team. If you're on coaching, do not worry about these contacts. You still are the owner and the assignee, and other team members cannot see your contacts if you're on coaching. If you are on a different team, depending on your other team members' permission levels, they may or may not be able to see your contacts. However, you are the owner and they cannot take ownership of your contacts. So anyway, this is just to be able to share your deal with the rainmaker of your team, or just so Heidi, our coach, or if you're in another market center, your coach can see the opportunity, okay? So it just has to do with sharing these, but you will retain ownership if the lead originates with you, unless you deliberately release ownership. So any questions about that before we move on? Okay, all right. I know it's a little tricky, but I hope that was clear. Okay, now we're going to go to opportunities, the handshake tool on the left about halfway down the screen. All right, and here is our opportunities dashboard, and I am under my team. You also can access opportunities in a list view if you click all opportunities. Just note that when you're looking at opportunities in this list view, oftentimes people forget to change the correct phase and stage. So if you're frequently using this view, don't forget to go into the opportunity and edit your phase and stage, okay? And that's if you're not using the other dashboard view where you can drag and drop your opportunity further along in the process. All right, I'm gonna go back. All right, so under opportunities here, I am just gonna reference, so I'm in listings, I got 4 under cultivate. And again, it is just a drag and drop. That's how we can move people along in the sales process. So I do want to mention one specific thing here. If you, for some reason, ask Paulette to search for your opportunity, or Blanca or Jean or anyone who's on our staff and compliance, who's checking the files, and you haven't, let's say maybe you forgot to click submit to MC on your file. We actually can't search for your opportunity. We can't find it until you drag it to active or a later phase. Because really, we don't need to see things before they're active anyways. So if you have forgotten to move it, drag and drop, or edit the correct phase and stage, you forgot to bring it to active or later, we can't find it via search. We will only see that opportunity if you submit a request to the Market Center, submit your file. And you don't want to forget to do that anyways. All right, so I am going to show you how to create an opportunity, or actually just one last thing here. There is a separate little grid for listings, for buyers and leases, just for those of you who maybe haven't seen this section before. And when you go into leases, one of the frequently asked questions is, well, I have a leasing deal in here, why don't I see it? It defaults to showing tenant instead of landlord. And for, we typically don't represent the tenants. So just keep that in mind. If you're in here, you're trying to view your leasing deal and you're not seeing it. And you will see it under the all opportunities view anyways, but just make sure to come here and switch to landlords. All right. I'm gonna click create opportunity. We're gonna get started here. All right, so you have your Market Center in there, you have your team, and then hopefully you have your contact in here. Opportunity type, listing, buyer, landlord, those are the 3 that we're typically using here unless you're a commercial agent representing the tenant. If you make an incorrect selection here, you cannot change this. You will have to archive the opportunity and start over. And the checklist that you'll have as options, they're going to show up based on what you select here. So for example, if I choose buyer, you will see all the checklists when you get to that point to select your checklist for buyers. You're not going to see listing checklists. So you want to make sure you make this the correct selection here. I know that sounds straightforward, but we all kind of make mistakes sometimes, and it happens. If you make a mistake and you save this, just archive it and start over. Owner, if you're on a team, it might let you select your rainmaker, but you know, by default, we own our pipeline opportunities. Okay, here's where you type in your client name. So if you've moved it to your team successfully, or you're a single agent and they're in your database, should see them right here. If you have a second person on the transaction, you can add them, pull them up here. There isn't a space for a 3rd client or 4th client, but I'll show you where you can add that information in just so the file reviewer knows that there's a third and fourth person on the deal. All right, an opportunity name. If it's a buyer, you're just going to leave it the name dash buyer. If it's a seller, it's nice when people add the address in here for us. Custom tags, these are just for your convenience. So you can put anything you want here. One example would be if I want to keep track of condos I'm selling versus single family homes. Or if I want to see how many trust probate sales I'm doing, or BMRs. So, but for your convenience only, the other, like our compliance people aren't really going to see that. So it's just for you. Estimated close date for my buyer. Well, let's say they want to close by May 31st. So it's about 3 months. Say their budget is $1 million. And my commission rate is 2.5. And by the way, if you are inputting a listing, you want to make sure to only put your side of the commission, not the 6% or 5%, just your side of the commission. Opportunity phase. Notice here that my only options are cultivate, appointment, and active. If I am already in escrow or under contract at the point where I'm trying to create this, well, the idea is that you create the opportunity prior to going under contract. But if that's the case for you, go ahead and just create it under active and then complete creating it, and you can drag it into the correct phase of under contract. And assignees, I can assign multiple people on my team as assignees, and that way they can see this opportunity in the team opportunities section. That's what this does. So Gabby's my rainmaker, want to make sure she has access. And let's say I'm going to be out of town for a little while, and maybe Tara is going to be helping me on this deal. And then I click create. All right, and then it opens up to this details section. And I'm going to go back just one step into the sales pipeline. So this now is under active and buyers. So I can click in here. And here is that opportunity I just created. So that's where it went. And what I just referred to when I said, what if I'm creating it at the point where I'm under contract and I didn't put anything in here yet? Well, again, if that's the case, you can take it from here and you can drag it into the under contract section. That's the only way you can do that. You have to create it in active, appointment, or cultivate. So that's what you would do. And then you can get back in here by clicking the hyperlinked blue text. And then there is more information that I didn't have the opportunity to put in on that first screen. So I would want to put the contract date in here. So let's just say we got into contract today. I'm going to put the 17th.
Hey, Danielle.
Yes.
Next to contract date is agreement 1. Is that when you sign the listing agreement or the buyer?
Yes.
That is, okay.
So yes, that is when. So if you have a buyer broker agreement signed, then you should enter that. We don't require buyer broker agreements.
Right.
So you don't have to, but for a listing, you have to put that. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And the appointment scheduled and appointment dates, those are for that initial, like, but when you're getting that buyer broker agreement or that listing agreement signed, those dates aren't required either. But if those are things you want to be tracking for yourself, which, hey, I recommend it, you can be adding that information too. I wouldn't put the closed date until probably after inspections or after contingencies are removed. When you're pretty sure about, actually, I don't know, appraisals are taking a while these days. So I would probably wait to put the closed date until you are certain when it is going to close. And then there's also this property details section here. You do want to enter the address when you have it. So for a buyer, you're not going to have that until you do have a ratified offer, an accepted offer. So you can enter it at that time. You want to start typing in the address into line 1. So I'll just type in our office. If you have a unit number, don't proceed to type it into line 1. Just select the address without the unit number and then add the unit number to line 2. And then all the other information just popped in there. It's actually pulling up addresses from Google here. So that's where those are auto-populating from. All right, and now I found it. If you have a third client or fourth client on this deal, this is where you want to put notes like that. I just made that up. So, but if there's any info like that, you want to put it here. If there is any information that is pertinent to this that you haven't listed anywhere, like if it is a trust probate sale, that is going to mean that you need a little bit of different paperwork. So you should put a note like that here in this section. If it's a trust probate or if it's a BMR, for example, if there's something special about it that the file reviewer will need to know, or that you might need to just keep top of mind for later. All right, so that's the details section and where we're at with that. If at any point in time your deal falls through, like this is a buyer, for example, let's just say that the seller for some reason pulls out and this deal does not go through. You could, and in that case, maybe you've already started uploading a lot of the paperwork. You can mark this as a lost opportunity if you want to we do want to keep that paperwork on file. You can mark this as a lost opportunity and then start a new one up for these clients and their hopeful next sale. If it's a listing, if you lose the listing, or the listing agreement expires and you haven't sold the home, those are the cases in which you would mark the opportunity as lost. So I hope that makes sense. You really want to use it for a lost opportunity that maybe we still need to keep that paperwork on file for in case the brokerage needs it in the future. And then we also have this buyer profile button here. This is only relevant if the person is registered on the consumer app. So, I wouldn't worry about this section right now, unless, if they are using the app, you can see certain things here. Like if they are using the guide and checking things off that they're doing, like getting pre-approved and then going to the next step in the sales process. So you'll be able to see that here if they are. Documents. Now this is what you probably all are waiting for. This is where we upload our documents to and where we submit them for review. The first step here is to pick a checklist type. Again, as I mentioned, I selected buyer. So this is just going to show me checklist for buyers. So I can select from what's listed here. Ooh, we do have a probate checklist. I'm going to do just residential sales buyer. All right, and notice that I'm not seeing any documents here yet in the list. The reason that is because we're under consultation and we don't require buyer broker agreements. So if you have one, you can click add item You can add that in here. And you can upload it from your computer. And when I click that under contract button, now I see 0 of 70 documents uploaded. Okay, so there are 70 documents here. It does tell us what's required and what's conditional if applicable. Some of these have little notes like this info button. Conditional if part of the contract. Conditional if stated in contract. So you want to pay attention to why certain things might be conditionally required, especially if maybe this is a type of transaction you haven't done before. But these are some new features, actually. I don't think I've ever taught with these features before. The new ability for our file reviewer to add in the conditionally required notes here of when you should need that. So kind of nice. And then the document titles and the type of document. And here, of course, is where you would click to upload a document. I'm going to scroll up to the top here. Lastly, there is this close section there. So those are the 3 sections that you really need to worry about. And when you have completed uploading documents to a section, you would then click Submit to MC. There are 2 exceptions to the timing of that. So when you have a signed contract, if it's a buyer, that really should be submitted within the first 72 hours. And your listing agreement, if it's a listing, it should be submitted within 72 hours. So you would upload it here, and then you're not going to have probably all of the other documents in the section, which is fine. You still want to click Submit to MC. Does that make sense? Okay. Some things here to note. There is an add comment button. If you do need to write a message to your file reviewer, you can type in the @ symbol here, and then whoever you have the ability to message will show up. Gabby doesn't check files, neither does Tara really. So Paulette is the person in Peninsula Estates, which is the account I'm in. So if you're in another market center, which I know some of you are, you're gonna click the @ symbol and all the people that you can message will show up. And you should, if you're not familiar with who your file reviewer is, ask your broker. For San Francisco, it's Bella Watson. All right. And if you need to tell them that a required document is actually not required for you, or if you're not going to be able to get signatures on something from a party that it's required from, you want to definitely send them a message here. All right, and for them, that's going to show up in this bell symbol here. They're going to get a notification and they can click on it and they can see the message in your file and they can write you a message back. Attach multiple files. This allows you to upload multiple files at one time. So it says browse, and then I can pull them up from my computer. And then, so I just did 2. And after it's done loading, then I can attach. I would only recommend doing 10 maximum at a time. It'll give you the ability to do more, but I have seen a couple issues when people try to do more than 10 at a time. So just don't do more than 10 at a time. And then you can click attach. And then now those are connected to those 2 checklist items. And I can click this Submit to MC button if I want to, when I'm supposed to. Okay, so next, you're probably wondering, what is this Start a Transaction button in the top right corner? Well, I'm starting a transaction. What's that button? I should click it. What does it do? That button actually only takes us into DocuSign rooms. And it starts up a room. So that start a transaction is referring to starting a transaction room in DocuSign. And it only works with our special KW free DocuSign accounts. If you're using a paid DocuSign account, it can't be linked to your KW account. We can make you another one, make you another free KW DocuSign account using a different email address than your paid account. And you can use this. So I'm going to click start a transaction. Because I'm on a team, it's asking me for buyer agent 1 and buyer agent 2. You don't have to put 2, only one's required. So if you're on a team, if you're on coaching, if you're on the coaching team, you really only need to select yourself here. You don't need to select anybody else. If you're on a different, like a standard type of team with team members, buyer agents, etc., if you want to share this with your rainmaker, then add them here and they'll be able to have access to the DocuSign room. Okay. I'm going to click confirm and sync. The only information that it's going to sync is the client information and the title of the room, which is the title of the opportunity. All right, so it's going to prompt you to log in at least once per day. And if you're on a new machine that you haven't logged in on before, it is going to ask you to kind of confirm, do that third-party authentication thing. Or double authentication where it texts you a code or emails you a code. So just be ready for that. Okay, so it started a transaction room for Nicole Asa buyer. Document section is empty. The people section has, let's see, me, and then my rainmaker. And it's also going to have the admin, Tara, our MCA, and then Peninsula Estates. And mine has also San Francisco because I'm in both market centers. So this is really just for, like, you want the agents on our side of the transaction in here. That's all that can really be done here. A lot of people have asked me, well, I really want my clients' info to auto-populate, but they don't want to add them to the people section because then they'll get a notification saying, do you want to be added to this room? And then people get confused by it. So they don't want that notification to get sent to people. How you can get them to auto-populate. And when I'm talking about auto-populate, I mean when you're sending them something for signing, you start typing in their name in the assignee field. If you want them to just like come up so you can select them, add them on the right-hand side here. So here it says seller 1, seller 2. I'm representing the buyer. And here it says listing agent 1, listing agent 2, buyer 1. So this is my client info. This is what synced over from command. And then buyer 2, I didn't have a buyer 2 or would have synced over. And then buyer agent 1 is me and buyer agent 2 is Gabby. So it synced our contact info over as well. So now this person, I know Nicole, she will auto-populate my client when I start to type in her info for her to be a assignee on something, to sign something. All right. Any questions on this details section? I know that here there are opportunities to add additional info. You don't have to, even though this says required to close, it's actually not required to close. We just use this and we bring the forms into command. So as long as the info is in command, then you're fine. And honestly, you do not have to use DocuSign rooms if you don't want to. But if you do need to get something signed using DocuSign that you would normally upload to DocuSign and send it for signing, this is effective and efficient. And the reason is because DocuSign rooms, this room for this particular transaction, think of this like a file folder for this transaction, okay? As opposed to not having any file folder and just having your general e-signature sent and received. If you are doing multiple transactions, everything's all mixed in if you're using that other tool, e-signature. But if you're using rooms, you can upload documents to the room, and then you can send an envelope with those documents to have them signed. And when they come back, they're just going to come right back to the room. You do still have access to e-signature, where it's just one inbox, okay? If you are doing a listing, one of the things I'm frequently asked is, well, I want to use DocuSign, but how do I get all the documents in there? The documents all for a listing, if you have a listing, they originate in zip forms through CAR. So you would log in at car.org, click to start a transaction in zip forms. And in zip forms, actually, they pre-tag all of the documents if you send them through zip forms for signing. So that is actually an easier workflow to just go through zip forms, send things for signing through zip forms. Again, that's if you're a listing agent. I can't show you zip forms because I don't have it, but that's an easier workflow. And the reason we can't just put those same exact documents in here and have them signed as easily is because zip forms has a licensing agreement with CAR, and CAR does not have the same licensing agreement with zip forms. Or I'm sorry, with DocuSign. So it's just easier to get them signed through zip forms, and that's on purpose. They don't partner with DocuSign, car.org. So those same things. And a lot of people ask, well, why can't I make those documents available in DocuSign? Well, I've tried, and they've come back to me and said, these are licensed and we don't have permission to upload those. And even if they did upload those to be available to you through here, they would not be able to be like pre-tagged. So you'd have to place every single field. You'd have to type in all of your client's information. It would be much more difficult. So just use zip forms if it's a listing. If it's a buyer side, then you might use rooms, because then it's mostly, someone else sending you documents to sign, and you can use this to keep organized with it. The other benefits of using this tool are you can separate documents in here. I'm going to just open this random document. So you can, let's say you need to break up a disclosure package. You can upload it here. You click on it, and it's loading the preview. And then you can split it up into the different disclosure documents that you need to file under different checklist items. While we're waiting for this, I want to tell you that another benefit of using DocuSign Rooms is that you don't have to download items to your computer. There is a direct link between Rooms and Command. You just need to route it to the correct checklist item. And I'll show you how to do that after this. Okay, this doesn't seem to be moving very quickly here. Okay, here we go. All right, so now it's loaded up. You click this document actions button, and you can split, move to a different room, copy, all these different options. So I want to split. Here's how you split a document. You just click add document to add another one. And if I have trouble seeing like what is the title, I can just kind of hover over it and use this zoom. If I hover over it, it automatically zooms in. And I'm just typing in the page numbers here, but you can also I can just click on it. Let's say I want to make that 5 through 10. Just click all of them. And you do have to click all of the pages you want to include in that range. Click each one. Otherwise, it will just do those 2 pages that you click on. So again, if you want to range, click all the pages in the range. All right, and then I'll click save, and it'll split them into these documents. And now all of those documents will be in the room. If I want to combine documents also, I just click this circle and then I can combine. So kind of nice that it has those options here. If you do want to bring documents into the room from zip forms, like if you want to avoid downloading them to your computer, you can actually add them from zip form. It is a little tedious to get your zip form username and password, and I do have a video on that. So if you're interested in that video, I can drop the link in the chat before the end here. Just try and remind, actually we're getting kind of close to the end here, so I'll drop it in the chat shortly. When you do this, it's gonna ask you what transaction you wanna sync from zip forms with this room. And then it's going to connect them and ask you what documents you want to bring over, or if you want to bring over all of them. And then how you get documents from here to command is you come here to the checklist. I can use that attach multiple files button. And because I'm using the room connected with this transaction, I can select DocuSign here. It's going to be able to see all of the items in the DocuSign room. And here they all are in these drop downs. And click attach, and there we go. It's going to go ahead and work on all of those at one time. All right, so don't forget these 3 areas on the left: consultation, under contract, and closed. And then don't forget to click submit to MC when you're ready. We don't know to check the file until you select submit to MC. All right, so that is documents, and that is the basics of DocuSign. Now, excuse me, I don't normally go over how to send documents for signing because it's pretty straightforward. You load them up into that room and click envelopes and create an envelope, or you can just simply create an envelope and upload them to send for signing. And you have to place the fields and make sure all the info you need is on those documents. All right. The next thing to go over is offers and commissions. We do need at least one offer programmed in here in order to move on to commissions. So if you're a buyer, it was your offer that was accepted. If you're a seller, it was the final accepted offer. You click add new offer, create offer, And just a note there, if it is a listing, again, we only need that final and accepted offer in this section. However, there is a checklist item where you do need to upload all offers. It is required for your file if you're a selling agent. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and enter the offer details, final offer date. Let's say today, and then let's say the close date is April 30th. And then the property address, 775 Monterey Boulevard. And then parties, you do need to put the other client's name. And then the associate's name, the other agent on the other side of the deal. And you need to put the address for each party, I guess. And these should, I think, be their primary addresses, whatever that is. And then terms, we put in the cash amount plus the finance amount. And then the sales price will populate. So we type these two amounts in and then we get the sales price. Earnest amount is usually 3%. And then we don't really utilize this area down below. So you can skip that if that does not apply. Click on to the agent analysis, pros, cons, summary. All right. I'm going to show you how you can get an offer comparison. Just if this is something you want to do, it's more handy for sellers, obviously, to compare all the incoming offers. If you're a buyer agent and you just kind of want to keep track of all the different offers that your client is putting in, to show them, hey, we've been consistently putting offers in at about this rate and we're still not able to, get an offer accepted. Maybe it's time to come up a little bit. If you want to keep track so that it makes it easier to have that conversation, I think that's great. I'm just putting the same address in here, so that's not what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to put accurate addresses in here. So sorry about that. And let's say this offer is pros is higher offer, way less cash. All right. I guess actually we can't do an offer comparison here. Doesn't let us do it for a buyer. Okay, well, I guess I can only show you that on a listing then. All right, well, the next step is that you should accept or reject the offer. So if you're a buyer and your offer was rejected, you're gonna go ahead and click reject. If your offer was accepted, you're going to click accept. And then on that offer, you're going to now have change response and manage commission. Manage commission, you click that and you fill this out in order to get your commission demand. So if you have not submitted this, you're not going to get a demand. It will hold up the transaction. So you want to make sure that you do this before your transaction closes so you can get that demand to send to your title company. So here it is. We want to edit the general information first. Sales price is correct. Commission rate and total commission are correct. Total units, make sure the contract date and close date are correct. All right. And then you see I'm the default agent here to the transaction, and it has my breakdown. The only thing that I can change in here are the deductions. And if I want to give a referral fee, or if I'm splitting with another agent in the office, I can put that information in. I can't change my split with KW in here. It's automatic. And if your split is not looking correct for some reason, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and save changes and submit. We can make changes on the back end to that you can't. You can always double check with Tara about that. So again, no choice there. You just need to submit, and then our system will actually know what your split is, and it'll probably come out correct. So anyway, you can also make donations to KW Cares, KW Kids Can. What I want to do here is add that BRLG fee. So I am in here on mine editing, scroll to the bottom, and under extra payment options, I'm going to click add item. Under the item type, I'm going to click deduction. The amount for broker resource law group is $129. Description is BRLG, P2 is BRLG. And I'm just going to put the office address here. And I'm just going to put my cell phone number because it's okay. We know where that check is supposed to go and what it's for. And I'm going to click Save Changes. But let's say I have another agent that I need to add to the deal. And let's say I'm splitting it 50-50. There is that Add Another Agent button. And I can search for another agent within our office. Let's say I want to give her 0.5 units. And I'm going to give her half the commission. Let's say I change my mind and we have an agreement that I'm going to get the full unit. I can zero that out and still give her half the commission. So if you're on a team, you know, you should do what your team agreement says there.
Hey, Danielle.
Yes.
Just a quick question, and might not be related, but what is the associate royalty?
Yeah, I just went over this. So
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Well, the royalty actually didn't go over specifically what that is, but that is a 6% commission that caps at the rate of 3,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's on every agent's cost sheet. It's required in Keller Williams. Every Keller Williams agent pays it. So if
I forgot that. I know what it is.
No,
now.
it's funny too. Most agents forget, especially after it goes away after they pay the 3,000, and then the next year on their anniversary, they always ask us, "Hey, what's this? What's this 6%? What is this?" So that's a great question, actually. And it's showing 0, by the way, because I can't see Blanca's split. Her fees will come out of the back end when they process the demand. That's not for me to see, since we're not on the same team or anything. I'm just quote splitting this deal with her. So that's why it doesn't show anything here or under commission. It's none of my business. So I'm going to click Save Changes here. And then now it should have, actually, it says excess agent commission 12,500. And that's because I actually need to edit my payment and I need to reduce my commission. So I'm just going to use half the unit to calculate my commission. And then I'm going to give myself back the one full unit because I'm taking the full unit. Blanca's got 0 units, but she's going to get half the commission. And then save changes. And now it looks like it all balances out. Now, if you want to enter a referral fee, you should do that first. And the way that you do that is you edit your agent payment and you use that bottom line item, extra payment options. And you can do inside referral, that's within our brokerage, or outside referral if it's outside our brokerage. If it's outside our brokerage, we do need the tax ID. Make sense? We also need all this other information, but that's the only, kind of more strange information that we need. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to questions. Oh, and the last thing you want to do, of course, is submit, by the way. Yeah, do you have any questions about anything I went over on the call today?